Hey guys, so I wanted to do something a little different since the long-running Pokemon series is finally retiring Ash's story after nearly 25 years and over 1,200 episodes. I'm sure many of you out there grew up watching it and probably played a major role in your lives as it did mine. So I wrote an open love letter to the series and Ash Ketchum in particular because his quest for Pokemon notoriety has been a mainstay in our pop culture for so very long. Now, this letter is a condensed recap of our favorite Pokemon trainer's entire journey, and while I'd like to think it's pretty difficult to call this spoiler territory at this point, there may be a few of you out there who have been holding out for decades waiting for Ash's story to complete before binging. Godspeed. So here's my disclaimer. There are spoilers, some decades in the making, but spoilers nonetheless. And without further ado, here's the video. Also, remember to stay nerdious. I remember that first episode of Pokemon like it was yesterday. You left Pallet Town with your untrusting Pikachu who took every opportunity to tease you in your unsuccessful attempts at catching your first Pokemon. As a nerdy middle schooler who nearly completed Pokemon Red by the time this anime rolled out, I was hyped to watch, but never expected to still be this invested 25 years later. I consumed every Pokemon catch, gym battle, and Team Rocket send-off throughout your entire Kanto journey, and when you finally reached Indigo League, I couldn't be any more psyched. You fought your way through the first 4 rounds to reach the round of 16, something your OP rival Gary Oak couldn't even do. Then in the 5th round, you meet your literal evil doppelganger. Except he's not evil at all. What am I saying? Anyways, Richie matches you in every way possible, looks, personality, and even has a Pikachu with a cowlick. Richie out-ashed you in this battle, but I wonder if Charizard had actually listened to you during the battle or Team Rocket shenanigans beforehand never happened, would you have won the Indigo League? Next is the Orange Islands, which you romped your way through, even defeating Drake and his powerful Dragonite to win the championship. While it was an impressive run, I'm not alone when I say this championship doesn't count as the major title you were seeking, because this felt more like a modified Elite Four playthrough. The Archipelago isn't even in the video games, there was no single elimination tournament, and what the heck is a GS ball? Now I did watch most of your Johto journeys, and coming into the Silver Conference, I was curious to see if you had what it took to win this time around. After surviving the first 2 rounds, you finally matched up with Gary in the 3rd round. And the last time you guys fought, things didn't go well for you. It's not a surprise either, because on paper, Gary is the superior trainer, since he battles like how you should, which involves a little strategy and not sending out a Pokemon that has a weaker elemental type against the one you're facing, but I digress. Still, you defeated Gary in one of the greatest matches in your early career, and you matched that intensity in the next round too. Unfortunately, Harrison and his Blaziken were just too strong for you to get past, and your run ends in the quarterfinals. Now, I stopped watching regularly when you started your adventures in Hoenn because I outgrew the same kiddish formula, but I still wanted to see you win it all. That's why I stay tuned for the tournament episodes, which is honestly the only part of any Pokemon season that actually matters. Am I not wrong? Since you reached the top 8 in Johto, I expected you to at least get to the semifinals in the Evergrande Conference. This tournament was different from previous ones, however, as double battles replaced traditional 3-on-3 battles, and there were 256 total participants, the largest of any regional tournament. You fought well throughout, defeating excellent trainers, but in the quarterfinals you fell short once again, this time to Tyson and his Puss in Boots. Though you shouldn't feel ashamed at all, because you did lose to the eventual champion, and even I know what that feels like. So yeah, about the Battle Frontier. I didn't watch it, but I know your journey wasn't nearly as difficult as actually playing through it in Pokemon Soul Silver. While still a milestone achievement for you, I think we can all agree this is not the championship you were thinking of, however, so let's move on to Sinnoh. Coming into the Lily of the Valley Conference, you had a swagger that had me feeling you were ready to finally move past the dreaded quarterfinals. And I was right. Even though you lost, you battled hard in your semifinal round against Tobias, who was basically playing Pokemon Diamond and Pearl in easy mode, because this guy had both Darkrai and Latios in his roster. Even though it took all 6 of your Pokemon, you managed to take out both Darkrai and Latios, which was easily the toughest fight he had during his run to the title. Like seriously, who approved this? I would have had a stern talk with whoever's in charge of this stinking tournament, because mythical and legendary Pokemon should not be allowed in the first place, and this proves why. After your exceptional performance in Sinnoh, I was truly convinced you were going to win in Unova, which made your results all the more perplexing. I mean, it's one thing to lose, but to lose to a kid who thought only 7 badges were necessary to enter a Pokemon League, and even worse, only brought 5 Pokemon to a full 6-on-6 battle. Anyways, your quarterfinal result is undoubtedly a painful step backwards, and this was the point when I realized that maybe becoming a Pokemon Master was more of a pipe dream for you than a reality. Coming into Kalos, I wasn't hopeful, but the power of sunk cost fallacy kept me going, and wow, how you battled in the Lumos conference almost brought a tear to my eye. Not to mention the beautifully themed battlefields. Now, you may not have had the luxury of Mega Evolution like your rivals in this tournament, but you had something better. Ash Greninja, the ultimate human Pokemon bond that puts all other fusions to rest. At least the ones in Dragon Ball Z. Now, the championship match against Alon was as evenly matched as ever, as you guys traded knockout blows one after the other, and when it came down to the last matchup between your Greninja and Mega Charizard, oh how you fought so valiantly. It's truly a shame how you came just short of winning your first title, but Alon had that extra bit of juice. Much respect, this was by far your best performance I've ever seen throughout the entire series. Hope was renewed for me because you came so close in Kalos, but honestly I didn't know what to think coming into Alola, so I just kept mum. The Manalo Conference was so different from your typical regional championship, as the first round was just one big battle royale. No, not that kind of battle royale. A free-for-all Pokemon battle that trimmed the participants from 151 to 16. What's more interesting is that using wild Pokemon was allowed, and the region had no gyms, so anyone could qualify. Even Team Rocket's not-so-finest Jesse and James entered the field, where both surprisingly made it to the tournament stages, with James even reaching the quarterfinals. Maybe all those defeats you handed them paid dividends after all. You had a confidence that was clearly evident when you were down against Team Skull leader Guzma in the semis, and in the finals against Gladion. During the championship match, I had a sinking feeling you'd lose a heartbreaker once again, but then came the battle of Lycanrocs, and when your Lycanroc countered Gladion's counter, sending it off the field, man, it felt surreal. Like, dang, you actually did the thing. So now that you finally won a regional tournament, can we say mission accomplished? Not by a long shot, because you have to take on the world. And after running through the Galar region, you managed to make it into the Masters 8. The tournament consisted of the top 8 Pokemon trainers across the regions, all vying for the World Championship. In the quarters, you dispatched the reigning Hoenn champion Steven Stone, and then in the semis, you took down Cynthia, the champion of Sinnoh. Your opponent in the finals would be Leon, the Galar Championship and #1 ranked player in the world, who was also undefeated for quite some time. This ultimate battle stayed so close that it came down to both of your long-trusted friends, Leon's Charizard and your Pikachu. After Pikachu's Thunderbolt was just enough to overpower Charizard's Fire Blast and send him to the floor, man, that was it. After all those years, this was the moment you knew you'd reach so long ago. When you defeated Leon to win it all, I knew your story was truly finished, and it wasn't long before it was announced that your journey was coming to a close, and a new one would start with new protagonists. I get that the show must go on, but man, it feels bittersweet because on one hand, it's great to see you become the Pokemon Master you always said you would be, but it also signifies the end of an era that most of us collectively experienced, from those who kept up with your antics from day one to the many incoming fans who joined your journey throughout. It's always such a weird feeling when something you've invested time into for so long ends, but this is one ride we can fondly remember. Even though I stopped watching Pokemon regularly long ago, as many of us probably have, we have continued to root for you in spirit, hoping you reach that high milestone, because you always represented a little piece of our childhood, and now nearly 25 years and over 1,200 episodes later, you finally made us proud. Thank you, Ash.